Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby.
Can you believe that there are some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Vlog podcast? Shame on you!
Shame on you. My name is Ella Envy and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champions.
And I'm Kitty Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champions.
And you better go listen to the Alliance Vlog, what is it called again?
Podcast, period!
Or you're ugly.
You're
Pretty Power approved. Alright.
Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive Poppy Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance Vlog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
What is up, everybody? I'm out of focus, but I'm here. Sorry for the delays. Technical difficulties prevented me from getting in on time. My camera stopped working. My mic stopped working. I just almost threw it in today, but I had my Dubby, and my Dubby made me feel a little bit better. Come to daddy. I feel so much better now. Dubby, the drink of champions, if you will. Energy unlimited. Neurotoxins be damned. I'm just making stuff up. None of that's been cleared by the FDA, but also it does provide me with jitterless energy, so I'm happy for that. I see I have friends already in the chat. We've got Jeremy, Championship Wrestling from Jeremy. If you haven't checked out his podcast yet, I recommend you do it. Maybe not a podcast, just maybe some interviews on his YouTube channel. If you go and check out our channel in the comments, I do believe there's a link to his page. If not, we have a link to it in each and every one of the episodes of the Other Alliance Guys podcast. You can check out his interviews. And it's interesting because Jeremy does a little bit different. Yes, he has interviewed some wrestling personalities, but he's also interviewing people who interview wrestling personalities. It's kind of a weird spin on it, where he's talking to guys like myself and also Tim from the Alliance Gold, also his co-host. I believe he has plans on interviewing Dave Scooby soon. He's interviewed our good friend Rick Del Santo over at the Pro Wrestling Zone podcast, and he's interviewed our friend from Scotland in Fiona, also known as Trixie Licks. And yeah, it's pretty cool, man. I highly encourage you guys just to check those videos out, because you kind of just see a different side of some of your personalities that you're watching on YouTube. Can I say personalities? Can I say personality? I don't know if I could say I'm a personality, but hey, whatever, right? Today's Tuesday, and each and every Tuesday, the pre-party with J-Cal comes to you live. The hour before power, too sweet to be sour, daddy. And we're talking NWA wrestling. And tonight, daddy, we got a stacked card for you. I don't book the card. I don't do any of that nonsense. I'm just a viewer like you. And I like to talk. And I like to talk about wrestling. And I specifically like to talk about NWA wrestling. And boom, that's why we're here. I see Mandy's in the house. The great Hisa is here. Hi, Mandy. The great Hisa's here. I think I already said Mike, but if not, what's up, Mike? Product placement. You damn bet you product placement. We also are now affiliated with Legos. Go to alliance-wrestling.com. Make sure, if you are interested in purchasing your Legos, that you visit our link at alliance-wrestling.com. They're a sponsored advertiser, so that'd be great. Also, Jonathan Burrell's in the house. He's saying, what's up to me, to you, to everybody, daddy. I don't know why I keep saying daddy. I think what it is I was so stressed out to get the show started on time that things went wrong. And now I'm just I'm happy I'm here. I thought I was going to have to be on the tablet, and I really wasn't looking forward to that. Because the tablet, although the tablet will work in a jiff, in a pinch, it's not the best. The quality isn't as good. This is a very nice camera. It's a very high quality camera. And anyways, Legos and Debbie. That's right, man. That's you know what? As an adult man, I probably fixate on Legos a little bit too much. I just bought some. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but if you're a Star Wars fan like me, there are tons of cool Lego Star Wars, and because it's the May the 4th is rapidly approaching, you can get like discounts and special deals on Legos, like Star Wars Legos, which I happen to be a fan of. And again, I'm not trying to necessarily mix my two fandoms here, but I always enjoyed putting Legos together as a kid, and I still find it pretty enjoyable as an adult. And maybe I shouldn't. I have another channel that I will start doing some Lego building stuff on soon. I think I just broke it. Anyway, we'll leave the TIE Fighter here. But yeah, it's so just trying to work on getting to make the website a little bit more I don't know. I've been running this website, alliance-wrestling.com. Chris and Lamb are doing an excellent job of keeping the website updated with what's going on in the United Wrestling Network and the Southern California independent wrestling scene. And some NWA stuff too. In fact, I just wrote an article yesterday talking about the impact that the Australian tour, I think, is going to have on the NWA going forward. The article titled, "We Have All Been Vampirized," or something like that. I don't remember at the moment. But I'd love to get more interaction on the website, and anything I can do to help project and get more stuff there would be awesome. But yeah, that's enough about me. How are you? How's your day? How are you doing? Anyways, so tonight is a pretty cool night of wrestling. I'm going to say that the last few episodes of Power have been pretty top notch. I haven't been disappointed. I've actually been very thrilled with the content that's been delivered. Excuse me for 1 second. Just in case you guys thought I was joking around about the Legos, like I have an addiction, I think. Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty interesting night of wrestling. I think we've got a couple title matches set for tonight, and I think that's pretty freaking cool, right? I think it's we're getting EC3's first title defense. Maybe not against the person I would have hoped. Maybe not the person I would have expected. But we got a title match. We're getting the debut of another women's tag team, and I'm very excited about this. I actually spent about 19 hours sitting next to one of the participants in tonight's tag team title match, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But yeah, I really feel like the NWA is stepping it up. These Power tapings, although that they were just a one-day taping after the pay-per-view after 312, something I go into detail in the article that I wrote at alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance, is that, frankly, the NWA ran more events in the month of April in the Lightning One era than they have run probably combined. Well, maybe that's not accurate, but definitely more than they've ever ran in an entire month. Because if you think about it, they did back-to-back day tapings, right? So I'm going to count that as two separate events. That's how they treated it. Plus the pay-per-view, that's 3 events in Chicago in the Highland area, right? And then they proceeded to do 10 dates out of 15 days of being in Australia. And I know that's, hey, wait a minute, J. Cal. They were on tour with the Smashing Pumpkins. What's the big deal? The big deal is that for those wrestlers, and I'm talking Brian Idol, I'm talking, Mercurio, I'm talking Natalia Markova, I'm talking Kenzie Page and Alex Taylor, who got hurt, and Kerry Morton and Silas Mason, the Thrillbilly. Like, that's the most consistently, like, those guys have worked probably ever. And to add on top of that, of course, La Rebellion. La Rebellion works a lot, man. Those guys, Mecha Wolf and Bestia 666, those guys got a lot of dates. But even as NWA Tag Team Champions, that's the most consistent schedule that they've worked. And what I think that is going to do for the NWA, it's a shot in the arm. Now, granted, this was all on the back of Billy Corgan Smashing Pumpkins, but why shouldn't it be, right? That's his band, and it's his pro wrestling show. So why does it matter if it was on the backs of a concert? Who cares? Did the talent get paid? Were people there watching? Then it's a win. It's a win. And I think when you look at that brand, the NWA, this is something that it needed. It needed some boost in the arm, some shot in the arm, if you will. And I honestly think like this is going to be so helpful down the road for guys like Kerry Morton, guys like Alex Taylor, guys like Silas Mason, the whole Southern Six gimmick, if that comes to the United States. And remember, this isn't even the end. That's the Australian tour. Guess what? They're going to start touring in July in the United States, coming to a town near you, the Smashing Pumpkins and the NWA. And like, it doesn't matter if you don't like wrestling and you're going to the Smashing Pumpkin concert. Guess what? They stopped the show, and if you've got nothing else to do, you can either go on your phone and watch TikTok videos, or you can see Silas Mason thrill ride the world. Guys, this is awesome. It's one of the smartest things that Billy Corgan has done as president of the NWA. And I hope, I'm not holding my breath, but I hope that their footage from Australia does come home. Maybe not every match, but give me a couple of them. Let me see some of the antics of the Southern Six. Let you guys see the antics of Southern Six. Maybe that's a property that will translate back into the home market, right? But golly, I know I talk about this a lot. I've been talking about it on pre-parties. I've been talking a lot about it on the Alliance Guys podcast. But this thing is a big, big deal. Think about it this way, too. You took the youngest talent, right? Kenzie Page is like 22. Kerry Morton, like 25. Alex Taylor's like 25. Silas Mason's like 30. These are all young guys and gals. Bestia 666 and Mecha Wolf, they're not young guys, but they're pretty loyal to the NWA. They've been around for a minute. They combined held the title for 533 days. Like, this is a good way to build like loyalty. This is a good way to build like teamwork, team building. You hear it in corporate America all the time. They're team building out in Australia. It's amazing. Mike corrected me, 22 on Kerry Morton. I knew he was young. I didn't know he was that young, to be honest, but that makes sense. That would make a lot more sense. And as Mike points out, it's still content and talent was paid. It doesn't matter who attended. And then Mike also brings up, and in time to come, once Billy gets rights, he will show the Mexico and Australia. I already know that. I know that they are getting ready to air the, or they're doing the edits to the NWA and Mexico content. I don't know when that's going to be released, but I know that it's been working on, and I think if it were me, I would have just put it out ASAP. But I get it. You want to make sure that it kind of ties into storyline. You want to make sure it doesn't interrupt the flow of the programming before the pay-per-view. Quite honestly, I think it would have been smart to have those matches presented before the tapings that followed the pay-per-view. But, they have to do what they have to do. Jonathan Burrell says, Rock and Wrestling 2.0. It is. But it's so much better than what a movie could depict, because you've got Billy Corgan, who, let's be honest, let's be frank, I'm not the biggest Billy Corgan fan. I'm not a huge Smashing Pumpkin fan. I'm not a huge Billy Corgan fan. But I will say this, the guy kind of knows what he's doing. And one thing that he won't do is compromise his views or opinions for you. That guy put Tyrus out there as world champion, man. And he's not sorry about it. And he's not doing anything to change it. He's promoting the wrestling that he wants to promote. And I tip my hat to him at the very least, is that he is his own person and he doesn't cave into to the audience. There was a famous line that once the booker, you start taking advice. I guess it's baseball, but it works for wrestling as well. Once the ownership starts taking advice from the fans on who they should sign and trade away, it's the moment that you should sell a franchise. And I kind of believe that there might be something to that too with the NWA and when it comes to booking talent. Because, like, look, if it were up to us, right? If it were up to me, the Fixers would have won the Crockett Cup, and then you would have missed out on that beautiful moment that the Briscoe brothers won, and having that accolade attached to their name on the untimely passing of Jay Briscoe. I mean, it's still it's kind of beautiful in the sense that they accomplished something that was so maybe not within what you would have expected for them to grab. Like, they weren't NWA contracted wrestlers, and because Billy had the foresight, they got that moment. And now, no matter what you say about Mark and Jay Briscoe, how many times they were Ring of Honor tag team champions, no matter how many times they dominated Ring of Honor, right? You could always put right next to them. They are Crockett Cup champion winners. Reluca said, the Reluchador is here, everyone. My good friend Reluca. We met along with Tim, her amazingly handsome husband. We got to meet up at the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator event back in, was that all the way back in March 25th? And they were looking forward to the Smashing Pumpkin show in Toronto, but they haven't advertised the wrestling yet. And I'm saying this, Reluca, I can't tell you 100% with any authority on what's going to happen, but I think they're going to wedge these wrestling matches in there. I've seen enough of the Australian footage that I know that they're just going to put a ring in the corner of the venue and make it work. And it boggles my mind because I'm very familiar with some of the concert scenes here in Southern California. And I know that at the 5 Point Amphitheater, which was a huge concert venue in Irvine, California, it's where I've seen a lot of great concerts. Most recently, I got to see the reformed Alice in Chains at that concert with Bush. It's a very 90s concert, but I loved every minute of it. That venue lends itself to professional wrestling very easily the same way that the Foro Sol lended itself to the Smashing Pumpkins, the World is a Vampire tour, and having a wrestling ring right in the middle of the venue. They could do that at the 5 Point Amphitheater very easily because it's an open arena kind of. It wouldn't be a problem at all. However, some of the venues are like concert arenas, much smaller venues, maybe 30,000 people. The space isn't quite the same, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. And like, again, seeing some of these shows from Australia, I really do feel like it's something that could potentially happen. Just because they haven't announced it yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I should probably move the microphone a little bit closer. Anyway. So that's where my mind is at. I still think that there is this is a huge movement for the NWA, and especially if they do hold those matches in Canada. Billy Corgan famously said last year that this company was going to become an international wrestling company, and he's kind of fulfilled that prophecy by running shows in Mexico and Australia. If he were to have 1 or 2 shows in Canada, it'd only further solidify that. It would only give his talents more opportunities to work together, to build that bond, to make these talents, to make them better. I'm excited for the prospect. I don't know for sure if it's going to happen in Canada yet or not. They'd be dumb not to. And then, of course, I could only imagine that the Smashing Pumpkins will probably start touring the UK in 2024. I know they have a huge following in the United Kingdom. Why not take the show on the road there as well? And although you don't have the cachet of a Nick Aldis, you still have some pretty great international talents that you could use. And maybe at that point, maybe you bring in a Doug Williams for those shows. Maybe you bring in some of the talent from the UK that we're familiar with. Maybe a Harry Smith might be a good person to put on that card. You imagine Harry Smith versus Tyrus for the 12 pounds of gold in a UK concert venue. I'm just saying it might be something that at the very least on the surface can be very interesting. James Bell says, "Did Trevor break his hand near the end of the match this past week?" I definitely saw what you're talking about. I think he might have jammed up his finger, maybe even dislocated it. It kind of looked like it was dislocated, and the fact that when he went for his pop-up power bomb, that he kind of grabbed the sides instead of lifting up. His hands were kind of like more on the side. I feel like, yeah, he certainly injured himself in some way, but I don't think it's anything major. I don't think it'll be anything that'll prevent him from being at the Crockett Cup. Sean Mega's in the house. Sean Mega, man, bro, I miss you. I enjoy our conversations when you jump on the lives. Sean is one of the guys that go back to the old Alliance blog message board. The board is still actually operational if you guys want to go back and relive some of the famous memories. But Sean Mega is a good dude. I enjoy talking with him. Glad he's here today. But let's talk about tonight's pay-per-view. It's not a pay-per-view, Jason. And did you just have a stroke? Yes, I did. Now I'm responding to myself. W. Man, if you could see me now, Ma. So on tonight's episode of Power, it's actually tonight's episode of Power is actually going to be it's going to be pretty cool. And I put up here in the title, it's a championship night, because it kind of is, man. And of course I don't have my notes readily available, but we can wing it. I don't need notes. Where we're going, we don't need any notes. Yeah, I do. So tonight's episode of Power, again, it looks pretty good to me on paper. I feel like this is going to be a very good show for us. As you can see, I mean, look at that. Just looking at the poster, right? Like, this is the I think this might even be the thumbnail for the show. Look who's on there. You've got Kamille, your women's world champion. Front and center with the Burke, you've got your women's tag team champions flanking her right in M95, Madi and Missa. And then to her left, you've got your national champion, not long removed from his time with the WWE and the Control Your Narrative moment. And I'm talking about the national champion EC3. And of course, probably the biggest name in the group. Well, that's Chris Adonis. You might remember him as Chris Masters from his days with the WWE. And I mean, to me, that's just in the advertisement alone of the show. You look at those faces, that's the NWA right there. No, Tyrus, sure, okay. And look, it's not only the NWA, but that's a pretty cool picture, and I think they did a great job of setting up that graphic for tonight's NWA Power. Now, of course, one of the big topics is that last week, or maybe it was the week before, now my memory's not serving me well, but we got confirmation that Tyrus will be a part of the Crockett Cup, but who will be there with Tyrus? Who will be his partner at the Crockett Cup? And I mean, I might know who it is, right? I might have heard who it might be. I'm not going to spoil it. Maybe we'll find out tonight. Maybe they'll stretch it out another week. I don't know. But Tyrus is great on the mic. I'm sure he'll say something clever. Again, he's not my favorite guy to watch in the ring, but he does cut a pretty good promo. Another match we have for tonight in a non-title match, but it could be a precursor to the Crockett Cup, and that is Kamille versus Natalia Markova. Now, this is the first time we'll see Natalia Markova since defeating she defeated La Rosa Negra to get an opportunity to wrestle Kamille for that Women's World Championship. Now, Natalia Markova has also been on this tour, not only in competing in the ring, sometimes teaming with Kenzie Page, sometimes facing directly against Kenzie Page, but she's also been a part of the live performance where her and Brian Idol, Mikirio. I've said that 3 times today. I'm blowing up his other work name, but Mikirio and Natalia Markova. The gimmick is called the looks that kill. Okay, but every night Markova performs some sort of Markova and Mikitio perform some sort of moveset on stage right there next to Billy Corgan. So she's getting a lot of face time with the Smashing Pumpkin fans. I don't know if that translates to anything spectacular for her down the road, but she obviously has an opportunity to wrestle against Kamille for the Women's Championship coming up at the next pay-per-view, and I think this match will be a very fun match, but we probably won't get much of a decision because, you know, if Kamille goes over, then you're not really excited to see the pay-per-view, and if Markova comes over, then it kind of hurts the credibility of the women's champion. So who knows for sure what's going to happen, but I like to think that I think it's just going to be a fun match without a finish. The other match that we have slated for tonight, and this one I'm actually pretty excited about. This one right here. We're going to have a battle of two former national champions. You've got Scion with his manager, Austin Idol, taking on Chris Adonis. Now, we know Adonis came up just a little bit short in his quest to become the world's heavyweight champion, losing to Tyrus at 312. It was one of the toughest matches for Tyrus so far as world champion. He wasn't able to. He didn't come in there and really destroy Chris Adonis the way he did Rolando or the way he did Matt Cardona. It was a pretty back and forth match. As you guys watch 312. And of course, Scion is still reeling from the loss of the national title. Now, he lasted longer as national champion than his daddy, and I use that in quotation marks, his daddy, Austin Idol. But I do feel like Scion's legacy isn't finished with the NWA, and both of these guys need a victory in order to stay relevant in their potential divisions. If Chris Adonis is supposed to at some point get another shot at Tyrus, he needs to beat a Scion. Now, Scion wants to remain credible in the national division and perhaps get a rematch against EC3. A victory is a must. So this is a must win for either one of these guys. And I think it's a match that I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a good match. Now, I do want to take a minute to address what's been happening with Black G's. I know a lot of you guys out there have been curious, like he wasn't at the 312 pay-per-view. We didn't really hear why he wasn't at the 312 pay-per-view. And, unfortunately, and I got to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about multiple myeloma. I think I'm saying that right. But G's recently diagnosed with it. Let's see. Just reading some of the notes from the GoFundMe, over the past few months, Darnell began experiencing back strain, something he assumed was minor. It could be fixed with a visit to the doctor. As time progressed, the pain intensified, and he needed to go to the ER. It was there through blood work that he was told he had multiple myeloma. I hope I'm saying that right. Multiple myeloma is a cancer that forms in the type of white blood cells called a plasma cell. Healthy plasma cells help you fight infections by making antibodies that recognize and attack germs. And multiple myeloma, cancerous plasma cells accumulate in the bone marrow and crowd out healthy blood cells. So that's something that is not good. Multiple myeloma usually can't be cured, which means additional treatment is needed when the cancer comes back. Darnell and his family have a long road ahead of them. He has a beautiful, supportive fiancée, Leanne, and a precious little princess, Jordan, who'll turn 5 this year. So this isn't good. And I don't mean to laugh. It's not funny at all. This is very scary. And if you guys are interested, and if you would like to, I'm going to put the GoFundMe link here. The GoFundMe link is also in the description of this video, but I'm going to put it right here if you're able to. I know times are tough for everyone right now, but if you have an extra buck or two, and I know you're like, what's my extra $1 going to do to help? Well, number one, it shows that you're supporting somebody who's going through something, and I believe that positive karma resonates. You do good things happen. That's just kind of my own personal mindset, but also I feel like he's got a long road ahead, and every dollar is going to help that family. It sucks. It's awful because, look, it's a tragedy when it happens to anybody, right? It's awful. cancer sucks. I've lost too many good people to cancer, and it's I hate it. And knowing that there's no cure and he's going to continuously need treatment, that's an uphill battle he's going to have to face for the rest of his life, and that's a struggle, and that's real hard to deal with. And I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you that what's going to happen with Jeez. I hope we see him back in the NWA at some point. But this is a scary time for him, I'm sure, and all the support he can use, all the support he can muster, I think would be great. So if you guys want to donate, please do so. If not, maybe just share the link, maybe just retweet it or share it on Facebook or whatever. But we'll be posting links on our social medias to that, because again, Black Jeez isn't somebody that I have a personal relationship with. But as part of the NWA family, I feel like it's our responsibility to help lift these guys up. And this is awful. It's terrible. And we all were kind of concerned why he wasn't at 312 pay-per-view, when nobody actually came out and said specifically why. Well, I think now we know why. Yeah, Mandy, it's awful. I don't have anything more to say about that. And it's not, again, I hope nothing but for the best for him, but that sucks. Yeah, poor guy. I hope he gets the best possible outcome. Yeah, I'm a father. Okay, let me age myself a little bit. My oldest daughter is 18 years old. She turns 19 this year, which is entirely crazy to me. But then I also have a beautiful 10-year-old, and I have an 8-year-old. And the thought of me not being here is something that frightens the ever-living crap out of me. And more important than anything in this world are my children. And I'm sure Darnell feels the same way. Black Jeez, I'm sure, feels the same way. And being there for his family and his daughter, I think, is paramount. So, yeah, all my best to him and to the family. And hopefully he gets a positive outcome, because, again, this is just a terrible situation. And, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. It's rough, man. And, yeah. So, all right. Getting back to the show, which again, I'm going to keep pumping it up. I really feel like tonight's episode of Power looks really good, at least on paper. And I wasn't there in Chicago. And I'm looking forward to tonight's event. More matches that we didn't talk about yet. Again, we mentioned the Tyrus announcement. We mentioned Scion versus Chris Adonis. The one of two title matches we have tonight is EC3 defending against Carnage. Now, this is an interesting matchup, and I'm going to... That's kind of funny. I don't know if you noticed this, but over here I have a poster, and it's the Karate Master Aaron Stevens right here. And then he's right here on the screen as well. It's pretty funny to me. EC3, this is his first title defense. They weren't going to throw the heaviest hitters at him as an opponent for this match. The thing that concerns me is, though, the lack of build. Like, call me old-fashioned, call me a prude, but I want my champions matches, the championship matches, to have a build to it. I know Heebs complained about this on our Discord server, that there's no build to these title matches, and there really isn't. I don't think Carnage has had very many single matches within the NWA. Now, Carnage is a hell of an athlete. I don't take anything away from him, but what did he do to deserve a title shot? Like, nothing. Wins and losses should matter, and booking should matter. I want someone who's been built up to have this match. Now I look at the roster. Who would be that guy? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, Thrillbilly Silas is probably the guy that's most deserving of that. We probably will see that match at, I'm hoping that we see that match at the Crockett Cup. But specifically on the roster, who's the guy that can challenge? I think Chris Adonis isn't the guy you want to use, because you're trying to elevate him into that world title picture. I look at the rest of the roster. I guess maybe Rhett Titus would be a guy that I think would be very fitting to put into that match. specifically because Rhett Titus is predominantly a singles wrestler, has a lot of, a couple of victories. I shouldn't say a couple of victories in the NWA, and maybe he's more considered a junior heavyweight, but he was also a former television champion in Ring of Honor and has kind of a pedigree that lends itself to the NWA. If you're just going to throw a match together, maybe put in a guy who has some accolades as a singles wrestler. And at the very least, some victories in the NWA as a single wrestler. That's my problem with this match. But with that being said, I really do feel like Carnage can go. I think it's going to be a fun match. If it's not a typical EC3 match, if they keep throwing out the whole silliness with EC3 and making it turn into something that it shouldn't be, then it's not going to be good. But like I said, I've been very happy with this season of Power so far. And all these matches were filmed like in a day or two, or 2 tapings. I actually said that earlier in the show. 2 tapings. So I'm excited about it. I hope we get it. I hope we get a good match here tonight. Jonathan Burrell brings up a very good point, and it's something I didn't consider because there were some travel issues. We know a good friend of the show, Gary Horn and Will Martin, who do that. This is a pro wrestling podcast that do a lot of work within the NWA, did not make it to that event because of travel issues. Originally that's what we thought YG's wasn't there was because of the travel issues. So potentially, yeah, maybe that's the reason why Carnage got this opportunity, is because there wasn't somebody else there to get this opportunity. But again, excuse me. Sorry about that. The W all of a sudden failed me. I wish there was been like a number 1 contenders match for this, or some sort of reason why this match was going to happen. But yeah, that's a good point, Jonathan. That very much could have been the point. Like, talent just wasn't available. They used who they could. The next match, and I guess this would be the main event for the night. Oh, just going back more on EC3. We talk about how EC3 is if you talk to people who watched NXT religiously and the WWE, a lot of people were very high on EC3. I was one of them. I actually got to see EC3 at a live NXT event in Riverside, California at the Municipal Auditorium. And he was great, man. He was really, really good. And there was a lot of charisma on him. And I kind of thought that, hey, maybe this guy might be the next dude that breaks through NXT. But then, of course, all the layoffs that happened pre and post pandemic, he was one of the casualties that lost his job. And, he's been trying to find himself, really. The whole control your narrative. I feel like, maybe 10 years ago, that might have been something a little bit more than what it is. I honestly feel like he should have partnered with the NWA. They should have done those events with Billy Corgan, promoting these events and somehow working the NWA into the control your narrative, not as part of the group, but just maybe a CYN versus NWA when the CYN had a little bit of heat, right? When they still had, what's his name? Adam Schur. Yeah, I think that is Braun Strowman. When he was still involved with the group, I think that would have been a nice time to have some matches, interpromotional matches. I know that CYN canceled some of their shows because they couldn't afford the events. But it's like, Billy Corgan's got money. You could tape some of those matches and have the NWA jump in. And but I just felt like EC3 is a guy who has been underutilized in the past. The NWA, I don't quite understand what they're trying to do with him. I know that they're trying to elevate him into the world title picture, but the whole feud with Tom Latimer didn't do a whole lot for me. Right, didn't build him up for me, and him winning the national title from Scion, I also felt came out of left field because it hurts Scion to lose that belt. Scion's credibility is kind of shot right now, and EC3 didn't really need to be national champion for you to put him into the world title picture. Which all the promos leading up to 312 were kind of involving Tyrus, not Scion. So, again, another puzzling booking, but it is what it is. Doty's in the house, and Doty says, I'd rather see good match without build-up at all than seeing they build Rolando versus Aaron Caesar's first season finale. That's a very, 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 very fair point, Doty. I agree. I never want to see Rolando wrestle again. Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you. I would rather have that than I'd rather have a match with no build than a match that's built up on for BS reasons. Jonathan Burrell says one of my biggest complaints about the booking is random three ways. It would be made more sense to label one number one contender match with PJ Hawk won the last one. Yeah, I mean very simple. And PJ Hawk is a guy who you same thing with Rhett Titus. Like you could qualify these guys as junior heavyweights, but they're not so small that they look lost in the regular divisions, the non-junior heavyweight divisions, the open weight divisions, if you will. If you told me PJ Hawk was going to wrestle for the national championship, I wouldn't bat an eye at it. I wouldn't think twice about it. And then James H. Jackson. Hey, James, I'm glad to see you back here on the podcast. I'm always happy to see you, James. Thanks for being here. He says that the way that they're doing it is weird with EC3. It's not been consistent. And the thing about EC3 is he's a talent. The dude can cut promos. He can wrestle well. He's got a great look. I mean, he obviously puts time in the gym. He for all intents and purposes, he's a complete package. And I just feel like he gets squandered in the NWA. James says, I kind of wish there was a booking committee versus just Billy doing it all. I kind of wish Dave Lagana and Dave Marquez were still involved with the NWA. You know, the things that we liked about Power in that first season. And James says there has to be no men versus all the yes men. Yeah, exactly, right? But I also say this, man. I think, I really like Kyle Davis and I really like Joe Galley. Kyle Davis is a good dude. Joe Galley is a good dude. I don't know if their input is heard by Billy Corgan. I don't know how much creative say they have in any of it. I know that Pat Kenny, Simon Diamond is Billy's right-hand man when it comes to the talent. So I don't really know who's responsible for what, but I wish there was pushback on Billy. I wish some of the gimmicks and some of the angles were approached very differently because I feel like the way it is now, some of the stuff is trash. It's trash. Rolando versus Tyrus was a waste of my time. Rolando versus Aaron Stevens was a waste of my time. Rolando, and the way that he's been used, is not entertaining to me at all. Mandy agrees. James H. Jackson, same Kyle is a good get for them. I agree. Using Kyle more would be good. Yeah, I mean, Kyle Davis. The thing about Kyle Davis is he was a wrestler. Okay, he wrestled for Ring of Honor. He wrestled for Liberty States Wrestling. He's been around for a long time. He's just not a guy in a suit. I don't think he has any desire to return to the ring, nor should he at this point. But he's got a mind for the business. And I think he's a guy that you definitely want on there. Jonathan Burrell says, did you see Zicky Dice vignette recently? I feel like EC3 needs some of them to explain this character in a more controlled way. Jonathan, I have not seen the Zicky Dice vignettes, but I will look them out now. Yeah, and I agree. And the crazy thing about, EC3, and as we've been talking about just what he's doing in the NWA, he popped up in Ohio Valley. He's the third national champion to appear in Ohio Valley. And he's some sort of group, some sort of stable with oh gosh, what's his name? Mr. Pecktacular. I can't remember his name right now. They're doing things with him in Ohio Valley, and interesting enough that he is the third national champion to be in Ohio Valley. We know that not Aaron Stevens. Chris Adonis was there. He defended the title there in a title versus title match versus Jesse Gordes, the national champion. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yes, you guys know. Is it Godders? Is that the way to say it? Someone say, give me a thumbs up if I'm saying it right. Godders? Anyways, Jesse Godders. He wrestled against the Pope when the Pope was TV champion then. My mistake. TV champion. So he's the third champion to be in the in Ohio Valley, but he's only the second national champion to be there. So Jesse Godders. Thank you guys. I was saying Gooders. Gooders. Yay! Anyways, so just to put that to bed, I really feel like that's going to be a fun match tonight. But again, the build is just so weird. it's hard to get excited about a match that I don't know what to expect, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe maybe Marche, excuse me, maybe, oops, maybe Carnage will show us something tonight, and hopefully Aaron Stevens keeps his big nose out of it and stays away from the match and that loaded glove and all that silliness, and we just get a one-on-one matchup. All right, now the match that I'm most excited about. When I flew to China, let me tell you a story. It happened, about what is it? I guess it was 2018. So I guess that was about 5 years ago. Literally 5 years ago, April something or other. I think we left on April the 13th. I got to sit next to Heather Monroe, and it was completely coincidence. We just happened to be sitting next to each other, which was really cool because I had someone I could talk to on the flight. And first and foremost, she's a sweetheart. Heather Monroe's great girl. She was going to China, obviously, to be a part of the United Wrestling Network prime time event in China. And the thing about Heather Monroe, if you guys do or do not know about the Killer Bay, as James pointed out, she, as a rookie, wrestled all across the world in a situation not unlike what the Smashing Pumpkins and the NWA have been doing. There was a band called Pucifer. They're a heavy metal rock band, like a gothic rock band. Not unlike Smashing Pumpkins in some ways. And they're fronted by Maynard James Keenan, also from the band Tool. I take a lot of interest in that because that's one of my favorite bands. And Heather Monroe, along with Eli Everfly, Joey Chaos, and Mrs. Joey Chaos, traveled the world with the band Pucifer as a novelty act during the show called Lucifer. And the Lucifer was basically these four personalities squaring off in these matches, in between sets. Very similar to what the NWA is doing with the Smashing Pumpkins right now, except for, the Smashing Pumpkins perform, and then the wrestling show goes for an hour, and then the next band performs and wrestling show, and then Smashing Pumpkins close out the night. This was more like these guys just had matches in between sets, and it wasn't a full show, it was just a match. And they literally traveled all across the world. And I'm talking Australia, I'm talking Europe, I'm talking, South America, North America. And, Heather Monroe wrestled like 1,000 matches, maybe not 1,000, 100 matches before she really was even a year into wrestling, because she went on tour. She had the look. And again, how much I say that was a good thing for Kerry Morton and for Kenzie Page and for Alex Taylor and for Silas Mason to have these consistent dates working with the Smashing Pumpkins and wrestling in Australia. The same thing can be said for Heather Monroe, being able to work all those dates back to back to back to back, traveling the world for wrestling. And again, she made her debut in China at the Big United Wrestling Network show. Defeated former women's champion Barbie Hayden. Has had matches against the NWA Women's Champion Jazz. Has had matches against Kamille, and she was at the first Primetime Live. She wrestled Kamille. Had a great match with Kamille. So she's no stranger to the NWA if you guys have been paying attention. But some of you guys maybe haven't seen some of the ancillary content that has come through. Today's all-in day. Oh, I don't know what you mean, Chris. Sorry, I don't know what you mean. Anyways, so getting back to Heather Monroe, she'll be teaming with Ray Lynn. Ray Lynn and her on the independent wrestling scene are known as Blonde Force Trauma. They advertise that they're a tag team with matching gear. Some of their videos that they've produced on social media, specifically Twitter, hilarious. a good way to make money is by booking them in your tag team division. They wrestled for Mission Pro. They've wrestled in promotions in the Northeast. They did do a show with Shimmer. Individually, both of them have wrestled all over the United States, and even the partner Ray Lynn has wrestled in China as part of the Middle Kingdom Wrestling, where she actually was in a tag team match against Zeda Zhang and another opponent. I'm excited for this match. Blonde Force Trauma, a lot of us have been clamoring for them to get an opportunity in the NWA as soon as they established a women's tag team division. And it's the first outside of what were their names? The Renegade Twins, that you really have a tag team that have found success outside of the NWA being invited in. The Hex, we know that Marty Bell and we know that Allison Kay were close friends, but I don't believe they were regular tag team partners until the NWA. So this is, to me, I think this is only the second time we've really seen a real tag team come into the NWA. And it's going to be a very big test for Missa Kate and Madi, N95. Like, they've only had one title defense. Their feud with Pretty Empowered started off at Hard Times 3 and has continued until this point. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some sort of Madi and Missa versus a version of Pretty Empowered at the Crockett Cup. But I think this is a cool opportunity for Blonde Force Trauma. The Hollywood Blondes is what they're being called. Also, I forgot to mention, Raylan also wrestled for WOW, the Women of Wrestling, in their 2019 season. So again, both of these women are very seasoned. I can't wait to see how this match is going to play out tonight. I hope it's not a squash. I hope it's a very competitive match, and I hope this isn't just a debut for the Hollywood Blondes. I hope this is an introduction. So I'm excited about that. I see some more people in the chat, some familiar faces like Vincent Verb X Patterson. Hey Jay, long time, bro. I have a question for you. You know why the NWA don't have a show on Fights TV Roku channel? Great show as always, bro. Hey, Vince, I appreciate that. I do believe the whole content with Fight has now been just reduced to pay-per-views. I don't think they are putting the YouTube show on Fight. I could be mistaken, and if anyone knows for sure, correct me, but I think that the content now, Power and USA, are both exclusive to YouTube. Now, man, I was earlier this week, I had all kinds of delusions of grandeur of talking about pro wrestling and how I would do things specific to the WWE draft. I have a lot of ideas on how I would differentiate USA and Power and how I would make that work, but I don't think I can get into it now. Obviously, there's only a few more minutes left until Power jumps on the air, but man, it was kind of unique in that Fight had exclusive rights to Power. I don't think I ever would have released Power matches on YouTube, and I think I would have bolstered up more of what you saw on USA and really made it more worthwhile watching. I really think they dropped the ball on that. If they were getting paid by Fight, I don't know how much better YouTube payments are better than their Fight numbers. I mean, look, let's be honest. Most of their videos are getting 20,000 views. I know from my, mediocre channel, my very humble channel, that I get about 7 cents per 1,000 views on my videos. Not my lives, my straight up videos. That's not a lot of money. The lives actually make a little bit more. I think I make like $1 for every 1,000 times you guys watch these videos. So full disclosure, like, just showing you the behind the curtain, if you will. If those numbers translate to something like the NWA, which I'm sure they don't, I'm sure it's much, much higher. If they were getting $1 per 20,000 views, then that's like $2,000, right? No, excuse me, I said that wrong. If they're getting $1 per 1,000 views and they've got 20,000 views, then they're getting like $20. Yeah, that's not a whole lot of money. You can't run a wrestling promotion on that. You can't. Like, that's a loss. So obviously their numbers have to be better. They have to be, right? Because if they're only making $20 on a show, it's probably costing them $20,000 to produce the show. Yeah, I don't know. All right, so let's see. So Chris Jumpman says that happy all-in day is the tickets went on sale today, and they're doing amazing. I mean, is that a surprise to anyone? Tickets are on sale today for AEW all-in event at Wembley Stadium. I think he means, yeah. James and Chris, you guys were reading each other's mind there. Yeah, I don't believe. I would be shocked if they don't sell out Wembley. Number one, the UK is a very underserved market. The WWE had NXT there, but again, it wasn't a WWE show. It was an NXT Britain show. It was an NXT UK show. It focused on the UK talents, so it's different. Every time WWE goes to the United Kingdom, they do well. They do good numbers. And I know AEW isn't the WWE, even internationally, it's not. But it's an underserved market. They don't get to have live events in their country from the United States all the time. So their opportunities to see guys like Kenny Omega or Jon Moxley are not as great as, they are here in the US. They're not. Jon Moxley isn't working, independent dates in the UK. Claudio Castagnoli's not working independent dates in the United Kingdom. So the opportunities see some of these top tier talents, it's not something that they have access to. So why wouldn't it sell out? It's going to be it was a great strategy for Tony to go to the UK, a market that's underserved. They're going to bring in some, premium names. I'm sure Chris Jericho will be there. I'm sure Moxley will be there. I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel Bryan is there, Bryan Danielson, excuse me, or Samoa Joe. Some of the names that have made their, name for a long time. So I don't know. Jonathan brings up a great point, saying that AEW is on free TV. WWE is behind a paywall in the UK. So even more reason, right? Because if you have access to it, you're probably watching it. I don't pay for content for wrestling, right? Like, I'll pay for pay-per-views. Let me rephrase that. I pay for pay-per-views, and I paid for the Fight NWA deal when that was available to me. But I don't typically pay. I don't pay cable to watch Raw or AEW or Impact. I don't pay for any of those shows, so I don't watch them. When you hear me talk about it, it's from what I've read, heard, or watched via clips on the internet. So when you say to me that AEW is on TV for free, then hell yeah, they're probably going to do gangbuster numbers because the people are looking at this as an opportunity to support a product that is available to them. James H. Jackson says Marquez is smart making the move via advertising on over-the-air local TV. Not saying he's getting rich, but it seems he's covering costs for the most part with the UWN business model. Quick Quack Car Wash, Car Shield, 2 national sponsors for the United Wrestling Network. I think that's pretty solid right there. Then whatever money that they're generating from local advertising, again, if I was Billy, which I'm not, if I was Billy, I would have made one of his shows, either Power or USA, exclusive to the market that they are most likely to be in. If the market is Nashville, go get some airtime on a Nashville TV station. If it's St. Louis, go get some TV time on a St. Louis TV station. It's not hard. It costs money, but it costs money to make money. Billy knows that. I'm not saying anything new that Billy doesn't already know. But, I again, going back to the whole YouTube model, I don't know if that's sustainable. Long term, I don't know if that's sustainable. They've talked about getting a TV deal, but if they could just, if they have Bill Behrens, for crying out loud, the guy that syndicated, wrestling shows going back to the 2000s. Why can't he get them a deal? Why can't they syndicate an NWA program over the air like they like Dave Marquez does? I don't get it. Dodie says maybe Billy should consider UK for his next tour. 100%. We kind of mentioned this earlier, Dodie, in the show that, after Mexico, after Australia, they're going to do a US tour. I could very easily see them doing UK in early 2024, maybe at the end of 2023. I don't know, but it would be a good idea for sure. 100%. We see the success from Australia. Look, those fans are going to see Smashing Pumpkins. 100%. But there are people who are being exposed to his product that now might be more interested in turning into YouTube to see Kerry Morton or Silas Mason or Alex Taylor or La Rebellion or Kenzie Page. And bumping those YouTube numbers are essential because the YouTube numbers are going to affect the pay-per-view numbers. More people are watching it on YouTube are more likely to buy the pay-per-view. It's all a cause and effect. And if all you have to do is do a concert, which is what you do anyways, why the hell not? Does it cost more? Are you making less money on the concert? Sure. But you also have an opportunity to create a ton of content. Like if it were me, again, it's not, but if Jake Howe was running the NWA and I'm saying, hey, Billy, you're going on tour anyways, let's film these as actual matches and let's make this its own show unique to its own brand. You could still have USA. You could still have Power. And you could do this NWA on tour, NWA Live, whatever you want to call it. The World is a Vampire NWA TV show. It doesn't matter. And you would have, again, another 30-minute wrestling show. Hey, here's Tyrus taking on Daga from AAA. Hey, here's, Silas Mason taking on Slex from TMDK in Australia. Why the hell not? It's your footage. Smashing NWA. Brilliant, Jonathan. That's the way to do it. And this could be a local TV show, right? I mean, I think at this point, I would replace USA. Make USA a regional TV show in Nashville or wherever and make it over-the-air antenna capable, ready. And then put this show in USA's time slot. Smashing NWA. Brilliant, Jonathan. I love it. Jonathan brings up that the UK Impact, NWA and Impact was the same and had a big UK following. I remember reading that. I remember seeing those pictures too. And it was smart because it was an underserved market. It was good wrestling. And speaking of which, Impact has been on longer than ECW, been on longer than WCW. Every few months we hear it's on its deathbed, but it's been surviving since 2023 years, something like that. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it because we're heading towards that 305 spot, and I don't want to keep you guys from watching Power. Like I said, tonight's episode looks great. I hope you guys are set and ready to enjoy it. Again, if you would be so kind to check out my pals, my friends, tomorrow night on. We don't have a banner for them. We should make a banner for them. For the other guys, the other Alliance guys who who run their shows at this time tomorrow right here on YouTube, and that's Jeremy, Dave, and Tim. They're going to talk about United Wrestling Network. They go all in with Jeremy's championship wrestling from Jeremy, where they talk about the United Wrestling Network. Then of course Tim and the trio talk about USA. They tiptoe around Power, of course, and then Dave Scooby has his fantasy booking, which is always fun to listen to. You could follow those guys at the Alliance Gold, at Dave Scooby, or at HJWOTS on Twitter. And then there's the YouTube link for Jeremy's YouTube channel as well. Cool. Now I feel like I did something good. Of course, I'll be back here Thursday as we bring you the pre-party, and we'll be talking, of course, about Power and just all the other things that are going on with the NWA right now. I'm pretty sure we'll talk a little bit more about how I feel like this should be. These arena shows should be taped and made available. What if there was a pay-per-view package? Would you pay for that? $10 to see all these matches from Australia and Mexico. Would you pay for that? Huh. Maybe we'll ask that next on Thursday. But again, appreciate you guys being here. You make my Tuesday so much fun. And wow, today was so chaotic. I'm glad that things went off well. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.